Gentlemen, welcome to the Laptop Lap Dances Week 1 Fantasy Football Season. It is Rivalry Week, which means we have some matchups to go over. We have made it another year for football season. We are so excited in the Commissioner's household for another year of the Laptop Lap Dances, and to go on my repeat campaign. We have a new jingle and we have a new commissioner this year. And we got some picks to do, boys. Let's get to it. Starting off our week, we have a battle in the Winstead-Witt household. We have Philip going up against his brother Steven, both of which are looking to start the season off with a victory. Philip is going up first. Philip has Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews in this matchup. He's got them on Thursday Night Football. He has that stack that he's hoping will quickly get him some points with that dynamic Ravens offense. He also has Joe Mixon, Chris Olave, Christian Kirk, and Raheem Mostert all in the 1 o'clock window. I am very curious to see what Raheem Mostert's fantasy value is this season. Does he revert back to being an RB20, RB25 that his projections this year say he will be? Or can he eclipse Devon Achane and still keep that RB2, RB3 ranking that he had last season? I'm also curious to see how Christian Kirk does in this offense for the Jaguars. Last year, he's competing with Calvin Ridley, and he was not as big of a PPR machine as he was the year prior. Now Calvin Ridley's gone. He's with the Titans, and now he has Brian Thomas Jr. and a newly acquired Gabe Davis to compete for targets. I think this is going to be a good year for Christian Kirk, and I think Phil hit it out of the park with that pick. I think that's going to do well. Chris Olave, I'm curious to see how this matchup goes. He still has Derek Carr as his starting quarterback, which unfortunately means this might not be the year Chris Olave reaches his full potential. But new season, let's see how it goes. Clint Kubiak now at the Saints. We'll see. Joe Mixon also plays in the 1 o'clock window. Phil went in on Texans running back Dameon Pierce last year. That was not the greatest pick in the world. That might have been one of Phil's Achilles' heel when it comes to him winning a title. But he doubled down this year. He took Joe Mixon, who has a proven track record of 1,000-yard seasons and proven production. So that will be something to watch. Also to watch, he has the Davante Adams, Dak Prescott, and the Seahawks defense all in the 4 o'clock window. Getting Davante Adams where he got him was an absolute steal. And I think Dak Prescott has something to prove this year. In a contract year, he feels disrespected by the geriatric Cowboys owner. I think Dak's about to go off this year. This is going to be a phenomenal game for Philip. Steven was one of my winners of the draft. Steven had been previously kind of the laughing stock of the draft. He had been considered a joke when it comes to how he drafts. We all remember the Matt Breida pick from several years ago and him not being prepared for the draft last year. Well, this year, that's not the same. This is a new Steven. Steven has Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce on Thursday Night Football. He has Josh Jacobs on Friday Night Football, which let's just point out for a second how the NFL has pretty much declared war on Friday Night Football this week, basically saying, I dare you to go out and support Friday Night Lights. I'm sorry, Jesse Witt. I think it's a joke myself. He also has T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, Najee Harris in the 1 o'clock spot, which this game is going to be and Aaron Jones as well in 1 o'clock. So this is going to be decided fairly quickly. He's going to need these 1 o'clock games to go through. Right now, T. Higgins is listed as questionable on the injury report. However, it does not look like it will be anything serious. So Steven will have T. Higgins on Sunday. Now for the commissioner's picks. This one was a tough one. I went over the matchups this week and thought to myself, I like Phil's team. I think that there are some picks here that he did really good with, and I think he's got great things. It would not surprise me if he came on top. But this year looks like it is Steven's season. Steven was not playing with his draft. I think that Steven can pull off an upset and start off this year 1-0 in a redemption campaign. The commissioner's office is picking Steven to win this matchup. Danny versus Nathan, or should I say the Kayla Witt Football Club. This one is going to be a big one. The battle of future brother-in-laws. Danny, coming into this year, he is a former commissioner. He has a lot to prove this year. He lost some players late in the playoffs last year. Thought he had the best team in the league coming into the postseason. He did not. He just falls short. And so now he's coming back this season with a purpose and with a vengeance. So he has Christian Watson on Friday Night Football, Breece Hall on Monday Night Football, and Jared Goff on his Sunday Night Football. He also has Tua Tagovailoa, Devon Achane, Michael Pittman, George Pickens, Evan Ingram, and the Bengals defense at 1 o'clock. He's got a loaded window games going on right there, and he is also going to have his work cut out for him this week because Nathan has got Pacheco on Thursday Night Football and the Jets defense on Monday Night Football. I'm curious to see how that matchup goes. That could either be a sneaky good pickup for Nathan playing the Jets defense, or that could be a catastrophic disaster, which results in another embarrassing Jets loss in Week 1 on Monday night. He also has Jonathan Taylor, Kyler Murray, Tyreek Hill, Kyle Pitts, Stephon Diggs, and Caleb Williams at 1 o'clock. He has sworn by the Stephon Diggs train now for years. It has never propelled him over the hump when he was in Buffalo. Now he's going for it with a new quarterback, new city, new team. Stephon Diggs, let's see if that can lead him to the promised land. He also has Terry McLaurin in the 425 slot versus Tampa Bay. This is going to be a big week for these two teams this year, both with championship aspirations. Danny looking to prove himself after being winless in the playoffs for the past couple years, not quite being able to get over the hump. And Nathan being able to conquer and finally become a member of the commissioner's picture. I am picking Danny this week. I think Danny, I really like his quarterback room that he has with Tua and Jared Goff. This league, those two will sling the football. Not much running to be done there, but you have some quality in the quality arms in that quarterback room. And I think Devon Achane, if he can stay healthy, is due for a very, very, very good season. I'm not buying the Kyle Pitts train. There's already reports saying that he is injured. So I just think that Nathan this week, it's a tough way to start, but I think he can bounce back next week. The commissioner's office is picking Danny in this matchup. Ethan versus Brent. This matchup has me very excited. The matchup of two lifelong friends. Ethan has Jaden Reed and A.J. Brown on Friday Night Football and Kyren Williams on Sunday Night Football. Just got an alert from ESPN. Be sure to be getting ready, boys. We got some football coming up. I really think that his Jaden Reed, A.J. Brown train, that will probably do really well on Friday Night Football. I'm still mad at you, Ethan, for taking away my chance at a stack. I think that Kyren Williams also has a chance to be a top 5 running back this year. I'm not buying that just because he's returning kicks means that he's not going to get used as much. I know they just drafted Blake Corum, but Kyren Williams was the man last year, and I'm riding with it. He also has C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, Dalton Kincaid, the Steelers defense at 1 o'clock, Rachaad White, and Justin Herbert in the 4 o'clock window. Justin Herbert, if last I checked, is on the injury report, so that will be something to keep an eye on. It being a super flex league, that would hurt Ethan quite a bit. Now he also has David Montgomery in the Sunday Night Football slot, and I think that will also do well for him. I'm looking for him to see if he can vulture a few touchdowns away from Jahmyr Gibbs. Now Brent's team impressed me with his drafting this year as well. He's got Jordan Love and Devontae Smith in the Friday Night Football telecast this week. Again, the NFL, when it comes to Friday nights, they can't be happy with Thursday Night Football, Sunday night, and Monday night. They have to encroach on the high school football territory. Unfortunately, that stinks. He also has Christian McCaffrey, Garrett Wilson, and George Kittle in the Monday Night Football slot. Also in the 1 o'clock for Brent is James Cook. That's going to be a very interesting pickup. Last season, he was a fumble machine towards the end of the year for Phillip. So I look for James Cook to have a bounce back year this year and write off some of the haters who said he held the football like a potato. He also has Mike Evans and Courtland Sutton playing in the 4 o'clock window, as well as Geno Smith. I am looking for Courtland Sutton to have a sneaky good year this year. He's got a new quarterback who looks like he was competent, at least in the preseason. He might not have the rocket arm of a Mahomes, a Caleb Williams, of a Josh Allen, but looks like he can get the job done, and I am excited for Courtland Sutton this season. The commissioner's office picks Ethan in this matchup. I think that when I look at Ethan's roster, I love the Stroud-Nico Collins stack, as long as that it's a little crowded receiver room over there. But I think that he's got a chance to get some really easy points there. I also think that Justin Herbert could also do well. I'm still kind of iffy on what they do in that offense. Historically, that's a pretty run-heavy offense with Harbaugh, but I think that they can do enough. He's still Justin Herbert. He's still ultra-talented, even though he hasn't really done much with his talent. I think this year could be a solid year for him with Jim Harbaugh. Next, we got Noah versus Jesse. Former Commissioner Noah versus the coach, the man, the myth, the legend, Jesse Witt, and the sheriff going head-to-head. Noah has the Eagles defense on Friday Night Football. Again, this year, football on Fridays this week. Josh Allen, Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake London, Malik Neighbors, and Trevor Lawrence at 1 o'clock. I am notorious for not really caring for Noah's draft. I think that Noah has a lot of potential, but he drafted a lot of youth. I don't know that I really enjoy the situation that Malik Neighbors is in right now. It looks like he's got someone who could not throw the ball into the ocean at quarterback. And so that I'm kind of waiting for more proof that they can actually muster together a good season. Now, he's also got Trevor Lawrence. Now, Josh Witt had Trevor Lawrence last season, and so did I in another league. I wound up dropping him for Jordan Love and winning my other league as well. He was not good last year. I don't know how that he got an extension the way he did this year. It was rough for him with arguably more weapons. He had Travis Etienne. He had a returning Calvin Ridley. He had Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram. It looked like the pieces were all there. Unfortunately, though, it just did not get put together last year. That did not stop Jacksonville from paying him. He also has Kenneth Walker and Jake Ferguson in the 4 o'clock window. I think that Jake Ferguson game is going to be sneaky. They need people to throw the ball to in Dallas. There's only so much CeeDee Lamb can do there. And Brandon Cooks did not sell me as a long-term option last season. He seemed to kind of be a shell of his former self. So I'm looking for Jake Ferguson to have a big game this week. Jahmyr Gibbs on Sunday Night Football. That's going to be a very big matchup. Can Jahmyr Gibbs get into the end zone? That's the question. Can he get enough targets, enough rushing yards, enough volume in all the backfield and receiving in order to justify his high ADP? Unfortunately for him, it still looks like David Montgomery is going to be the goal line back this year, but maybe things can change and Jahmyr Gibbs can rattle off either a goal line touchdown or rattle off a long touchdown and gets a huge amount of points for the commissioner's office. Jesse has Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers on Thursday Night Football. He also has Dallas Goedert on Friday Night Football. It's going to be a big game for him this week, two of the primetime Thursday and Friday night games. He also has Anthony Richardson, Justin Jefferson, and Alvin Kamara at 1 o'clock. Those are some huge names there. I am very interested to see Anthony Richardson this year coming off an injury. Can he keep himself healthy? If so, he is going to be, in my opinion, at least top 6 or 7 quarterback in fantasy. If not top 5, you can't really be a rushing mobile quarterback, especially in Superflex in fantasy football. Justin Jefferson, I still think will do well, even with Sam Darnold as his quarterback. Justin Jefferson is one of those receivers you can put anyone behind center, and he will bring the best out of them. So I think he will do well. Also, he has Alvin Kamara playing at 1 o'clock versus Carolina. Alvin Kamara, I think this is going to be a big year for him. I think it's probably his last year with the Saints. Having Derek Carr as his quarterback, that also might not help him as much. And his reception numbers that he had in years past just were not there last year. It did not seem like a very good, wasn't a good offense last year. And I think it's kind of showed at where the Saints finished. So I am very curious to see where that goes. He also has a pair of Washington Commanders in this matchup. He has Brian Robinson and Jaden Daniels playing in the 4 o'clock window this week. Big games for the Commanders. Can they show off their new culture, start off a new ownership group and going through the offseason, finally revamping this roster? Can they start off this new journey with a win? He also has Cooper Kupp in the Sunday Night Football window. Cooper Kupp was notoriously a little bit banged up last year. I think this year he can come back and do pretty well. But there's also Puka Nacua there. I think that this offense is going to have enough to feed both Nacua and Cooper Kupp. This week, the commissioner is picking Jesse. Just too many what-ifs on Noah's roster for me to be comfortable picking him just yet. I think Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake London, Malik Nabers will be good, but that's something I need to see first. I need Drake London to show me that he can do something with a competent starting quarterback. I need Malik Nabers to show me that he can make Daniel Jones into anything other than a grocery bagger. And I just want to see Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm sure he will do well, but it's also going to be eating away. Him and Trey McBride will probably eat away at each other at targets this year, as well as Kyler's running ability that might also take away some targets. For Game of the Week, we've been talking about Josh's team and his draft strategy, which we'll get to in a moment. For a lot of the summer, it is Josh versus myself, the commissioner and defending champion. Now, Josh has heard us talk smack about his draft strategy all summer, and I can tell you he is sick of it. He is ready to put this all behind him, so this matchup is going to be a big one. I have Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley on Friday Night Football. I'm really hoping that game turns out well for me, whether it be Hurts getting the rushing touchdowns, Barkley getting the rushing touchdowns. I want those points regardless. I also have Puka Nacua on Sunday Night Football. I am hoping that his momentum from his rookie campaign carries over into this year. Arguably, he should have won Offensive Rookie of the Year last year. He had one of the best seasons for a rookie wide receiver in the history of the league. I also have Brock Purdy and the newly re-signed Brandon Ayuk. Thank you, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. Brandon Ayuk and Brock Purdy, plus the 49er defense on Monday Night Football. I think I need to see that Aaron Rodgers is still has that in him, can still go at a high level. I think the Jets are prone to disasters in moments like this, and kind of just blowing things up in the big primetime spotlight. So I feel pretty comfortable with my 49er defense matchup. I also have James Conner, Tank Dell, and Trey McBride at 1 o'clock. I think Trey McBride is going to finish as tight end 1 this year. He had 80 receptions in a limited number of games with a starting role. Once he took that over from Zach Ertz last year, he went off. I think the addition of Marvin Harrison will only make it easier for him. He'll have a legitimate number 1 receiver, and people won't just be focusing on him all the time. I think Trey McBride I predict that he potentially could finish as tight end 1 this year. Tank Dell, I'm super excited about him. He was great last year up until he broke his leg. Even though Stephon Diggs is now there, I still think Tank Dell has a big role in this offense. You can't sit someone that talented. You can't kind of push them off to the side after the year he had. And it looked like even in the preseason, he didn't miss a beat. Now, old reliable James Conner. I know that some of y'all in the draft season said, why would you pick James Conner? He gets injury prone, and they just drafted a heir apparent to him. Well, when he plays, James Conner is a top 10 running back. That's just all there is to it. He averages over about 14 to 15 fantasy points a game. For your RB2, that is money in the bank. I think for this year, at least for the start of the season, he looks like he's going to be that offense's bell cow. So I'm going to roll with it. I think he's going to do well. I think the rushing threat of Kyler will also help him out a little bit. Sure, it might vulture some touchdowns, but you know what? He was also a touchdown machine. So you know what? I am perfectly fine with taking my risks there. Josh has Sam Laporta on Sunday Night Football. I think even Sam Laporta as well could finish as number 1 tight end in fantasy. I am very high on him and Trey McBride this year. Josh, notoriously, did not pick quarterback until late in the draft. He stacked up on his position players and honestly did quite well. He drafted names like Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, CeeDee Lamb with a later round pick. He got a humongous value for CeeDee Lamb. And for what? CeeDee Lamb re-signed like everyone thought he would. And that's just that. Josh got a value. But his quarterback room, Deshaun Watson, who did not impress a whole lot last season. When he went out and Joe Flacco came in, Amari Cooper's numbers, which weren't bad by any means under Deshaun Watson, went through the roof with Joe Flacco. He had a 50-point fantasy football game last year, which got me to the title game, with the rest being history. Philip is no longer doing this preview, and he got me a victory. He has Travis Etienne, DeAndre Swift, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore, and Kirk Cousins in the 1 o'clock window. And alongside the Bills defense, the 1 o'clock window is going to be humongous for Josh. I think that the jury I think is still out for DeAndre Swift. He was the main running back last year. I had him on my team when he was with the Eagles. And if he was not breaking off long gains, he was getting stopped right at the line of scrimmage or within a yard. He was a fairly inefficient runner. Mostly the most damning thing for him is that the Eagles were willing to let him go in free agency and pay guaranteed money to Saquon Barkley, which almost never happens for a running back going on their second, third deal. It's not something that's usual, so the Eagles were also not impressed. I think Travis Etienne is probably going to finish as a top 5 running back this year. He's a dynamic threat, whether it be running the ball or catching the ball out of the backfield. I think Ja'Marr Chase is going to have something to prove this year. I don't know how smart it is to play without a new contract, but I also think that he is one of the 5 best wide receivers in the NFL, and I think he will show why again this season and get his money. Jalen Waddle is a stud. I think he has a fantastic year this year. I think the Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle 1-2 is the best in football. There is not one better. You can't name one better. That's why one of the reasons why I think Tua's numbers have looked so good is because he is basically throwing to the best 1-2 punch in football. And DJ Moore. DJ Moore finally gets a competent quarterback after years and years and years of horrible quarterback play between the Panthers and the Bears. He finally gets hopefully is the franchise guy for the Bears. I'm pretty sure that's going to turn out well for him. I think he has a good year. And Kirk Cousins. We all know what happened this offseason. The Falcons go with Michael Penix, and they draft him with the 7th overall pick. I think that if Kirk has trouble this season, I feel like you don't just draft a quarterback in the first round. When you sign a guy to a multi-year deal with hundreds of millions of dollars on it, they're not just going to want to pay guaranteed money to a rookie backup. If this does not go well, they will be putting in Michael Penix. But I think Kirk, for the year, is a very good veteran to learn under, so I think Penix probably takes the year, learns under Kirk. I think Kirk's probably going to wind up making Drake London better. My jury is still out on Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts has all the physical talent in the world, but this has been the same thing we've said for many years now. We're not going to fall back in love with Kyle Pitts. The commissioner's office is picking myself to win this matchup. I think that Josh's team is loaded in terms of position players, so it would not surprise me if he won this game. However, the lack of dynamic quarterback play also does not make me feel crazy. Deshaun has his legs, but he also averaged 200 some yards a game last year. It's just not okay. Not in the modern NFL. If you're not averaging close in the 250s to close to 300 yards a game, especially with how defenses are now, you're just not getting the job done, and that's definitely not worth the amount of money that the Browns paid him. I think Kirk, at the value you got him for, was pretty good, but I think if he would have maybe had a Stafford and a Kirk, that probably would help him out a little bit. So those are my picks for this week. I cannot wait for Thursday night football. I hope you guys are ready and have your lineup set. Have a great rest of your week. I will see you back here on Sunday night. Have a great one, y'all. Peace.